Hello, I'm Rad the Bad and some of you are dead, and welcome to Rad Quickies. Because some stuff I can't fit into a bigger video, but I must appease my chronic addiction to yapping. Autistic Babes was a video I made where I covered babes who are autistic. In particular, the mad, scrunkly scientist Reagan from Inside Job, and the fish-loving femcel Asa from Chainsaw Man. These babes were represented epically and authentically, written as characters who happen to be autistic over autistic characters. However, a new autistic babe is on the block, and they may be the most quirked up and goated with the sauce yet. Let me introduce you to the greatest autistic babe who isn't a babe, Laios from Dungeon Meshi. Real quick, this is based off of what's released of the anime currently. I promise I'll read the manga at some point. Please don't crucify me, I'm allergic to Catholicism. To say Laios isn't autistic means you'd have to gouge your eyes out with rusty spoons and fill your ears with asbestos. This boy unequivocally and literally figuratively has that dog in him. While Reagan and Asa are well-crafted characters who have the trait of being autistic, Laios takes it a step further and uses his autistic traits to make a wider, deeper, more nuanced point, and shows how you can write a character who happens to be autistic over an autistic character while still having their autism be an integral part of their character and story. But before we get into it, I just wanted to let you know this video is sponsored by the subscribe button and you giving me money on Patreon. Thanks for that. Before watching the show, I saw a meme talking about how a deep reading of Dungeon Meshi is the theme of autism being an isolating condition. While this theme is pretty blatant if you have A, watched the show, and B, talked to a single person with that dog inside them, please keep this theme in mind as we trudge our way through the trenches that is this video. We'll explore 3 factors towards this theme: Laios' hyperfixation, others' perception of him, and his perception of others. Starting at the start of the list, like you're meant to, his hyperfixation of monster fuck. I mean, monster eating, just monsters. He likes monsters. Not in that way. He just is interested in monster fuck. I have to kill Nuxtaku to remove this curse from me. As you can imagine, hyperfixating over monsters is quite useful when exploring a monster-filled dungeon, and it's easily the greatest asset he brings to the team, helping overcome many a foe. But in my hit video you might have heard of, Autistic Babes, I talk about autism as a superpower, also known as savant syndrome, which harmfully perpetuates the idea that autistic people are superhuman and sets unhealthy expectations for them. While this almost feels like it's dipping into that, like with how that blue-eyed freak said Laios may have a chance beating the dungeon thanks to his incredible fixation with monsters. I feel it's a realistic depiction. A fixation on monsters would be helpful in this world, and there are moments where he gets too enthusiastic, and it makes situations worse or grinds others' gears. Speaking of, we get off the train at our second point, with how others view him. There is a consistent theme of other characters not comprehending Laios and his true self. This is the most blatant in the episodes where doppelgangers doppel the gang based on how the characters view each other. While most of the doppelgangers for the other characters require deeper deduction to work out who's a doppling gangster, all of Laios's are obviously fake, and quite insulting. From a bumbling dimwit to an aloof child to Chad? Brother? Now, Laios isn't a perfect person. His autistic attributes can even be a detriment at times, but these are clear mischaracterizations of him, which over-exaggerate or misinterpret his autistic traits. This is unfortunately reflective of real life. Often people don't take the time to understand autistic people and tend to apply their own biases and expectations to color autistic people in a differing light than how they actually are. They see how autistic people act differently from how you're meant to as a lesser way of thinking. Which perfectly and cleanly transitions into my final point, how Laios perceives others. Laios understands others don't understand him, and is emotionally affected by it. In one episode, it reveals his greatest nightmare is his parents telling him he should give up because others could never understand him. But both the way others see Laios and the way Laios sees others is perfectly told in his relationship with a foolish samurai warrior, Shuro. Shuro is from fantasy Japan. He's a part of a culture built on subtlety and respecting others wordlessly. Laios, on the other hand, has that dog in him. He doesn't key into the unspoken word. He takes things at face value and he allows his passion to drive him. Neither are bad. but they have wildly different approaches to social situations. We see in a flashback just how much Laios respected Shuro, seeing Shuro as a wise mentor he'd have philosophical discussions with. In reality, Shuro couldn't stand Laios, being constantly drained from how much Laios talked to him and got in the way of Shuro banging his sister. It's interesting how each character's view of the other doesn't line up with how they actually are. Neither took the time to understand each other. This comes to a head in their reunion. The bottled up anger of Shuro spilling over as Laios tells him about how they've been eating monsters and using dark magic. But it's not the fact that they did these things that angers Shuro, it's just the way Laios says it so casually without the proper weight behind his words. But the truth is, Laios does take it seriously, he just finds it difficult to convey that. Finally, Shuro admits to Laios that he always hated him, that he was a fool who didn't know boundaries. But Laios responds with anger of his own, annoyed that Shuro never said anything. He was just excited to talk to someone he respected. He never wanted to be a hindrance. The two of them proceed to rectify their differences rationally with a fist fight. It's common for stories containing autistic characters to be a decree on how we should treat autistic people or what it's like to live as an autistic person. However, the scene is more than that. Neither Laios nor Shuro are bad people, and the point they find their relationship at is all too common. Both have the right to feel frustrated, especially Laios, because all of this was kept from him. It highlights the importance of honesty and communication. The situation would have been completely solved if Shuro said anything, and as long as Laios can respect Shuro's boundaries, then everything would have been fine. But no, it took several deaths and a fistfight to have a Japanese person stand an autistic person. Dungeon Meshi so far is an incredible look at the isolating experience of being autistic and the harmful misinterpretations people can have of it, even if they are otherwise good people. I've been incredibly impressed with what I've seen so far. It's written with such nuance and respect without actually saying Laios is autistic. It makes me realize I missed an important part in my hit video Autistic Babes, which is to tell a story revolving around a trait of a person such as autism. We can't just focus on the character in isolation. You have to also take into account how others interact and perceive them too. For humans are as much their connections to others as they are their own personalities. I genuinely think in all my years of breathing air, Laios may be the greatest autistic babe I've ever seen. Literally, and I cannot overstate this enough, he literally, figuratively, has that dog inside him.